heated debate on status of the economy. Government give approval for new cancer machine. And KPHL donate to National Heart Centre.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Thursday's news. Treasurer Ian Ling Starkey says despite tough times enforced by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Marape-Basil government is confident of the country's economic future and is living up to its promises with regards to the budget. This was heavily criticised by Yalibu Pangia MP and former Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, as well as other opposition MPs, saying PNG's economy is in rescue mode and is relying heavily on international financial institutions. There was heated debate in Parliament yesterday.
In his ministerial report presentation, the Treasurer claimed confidence in the Marape government's managing of PNG's economy under trying circumstances.
The good news is that the Marape government's steady and responsible budget repair and reconstruction is protecting the budget and protecting the economy. We are delivering on our promises.
And in covering the 2020 final budget outcome and the mid-year fiscal and economic outlook, the Treasurer said independent financial rating institutions have confirmed that PNG's economy is on the right track.
Independent domestic and international responses confirm that we are on the right track in dealing with the worst economic conditions that we've ever faced. Mr. Speaker, what a contrast with the irresponsible mismanagement of Peter O'Neill.
On the opposite end, former Prime Minister Peter O'Neill criticised Treasurer Ling Starkey for blaming the previous government and pointing him out for being responsible for PNG's current economic status.
We should be changing all the highways in the country and all the bridges and everything in the country. Most of them that are ongoing now are from previous governments. Our arrangements with ADB and all the other banks that we have borrowed money on, which are also concessional loans, Mr. Speaker. So it's about time this government talks about its achievements and what it is doing to rescue the economy. You have had a decline in the economy from 2019. GDP
continues to seem to be just based on blaming the former government continuously without the numbers sort of adequately behind it, or indeed an approach that he keeps putting to Parliament that seems to be just heavily weighted on debt and more debt and justifications for more debt. We are now 18 billion kina into debt, added 63% to our debt stock in Papua New Guinea. We've exhausted pretty much every avenue for borrowing around the world, and yet we are patting ourselves on the back saying it's our credibility and they're giving it to us because we form credible approaches to the economy and so forth. The reality is we're surviving on international help because they're coming to our rescue.
Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
Yanguru South Sea MP Richard Maru today raised concerns in Parliament on Papua New Guinea's trade agreements with neighbouring nations, with particular emphasis on Indonesia. MP Maru said during question time that in order for PNG to establish strong trade relations with the rich Indonesian market for PNG to invest in, there needs to be wharves built in Vanimo and Wewak, as well as duty-free shops established in the area. Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade, Soroi Eoe, responded to the questions, explaining PNG's position in the relevant trading relations.
Mr. Speaker, it has been concerning that our country, after the launch of the trade policy, we haven't done much work in the trade area. We all know the most important trade market for us, potential market, is Indonesia. That's where our future is in terms of international trade. In terms of Australia, we have knocked back the push to get Papua New Guinea to sign the trade agreement called PESA Plus. because it would have been a one-sided trade agreement which would greatly favor Australia. They can't even allow us to export our pawpaw and taro into the Australian market because of their very strict phytosanitary rules. But they're able to allow Fiji and Tonga and Samoa to export all those agriculture products into their market.
Indonesia exists to be one of those important closest markets. And I think if we enter into this type of agreement, it also comes back, Mr. Speaker, incumbent on suppliers on our side of the coin to constantly continue to supply the demands that are created. Do we have that potential to do that? I think this is one of the weaknesses that we have, but we need to address as a country, particularly as we go out and seek outside markets for our product. We need to constantly supply those markets.
Member for Abao, Sir Pukatemu, says more awareness needs to be made regarding the COVID-19 vaccination. Sir Puka says judging from the global experience, other countries are moving towards 70 to 80% of their population being vaccinated. He raised these concerns in Parliament yesterday.
Abao MP Sir Pukatemu strongly wants COVID-19 vaccination to be promoted nationwide regardless of what the citizens say. However, he pointed out for leaders to take the lead in vaccination and recommends a vaccination team to set up at the Parliament House.
So that all of us leaders can demonstrate the leadership and support the Prime Minister when he himself was vaccinated on the media. I think that's a leadership that is wanting, because plenty controversies, plenty kind German stuff on Facebook. Now our people are confused and they are gullible to any information. So leadership is what is needed.
While presenting his points on the floor of Parliament, Sir Puka pleaded to the Speaker to support essential businesses in the private sector by making vaccination compulsory for them.
I strongly recommend that we have a good, clear policy to make sure that private sector keep afloat, that they keep operations so that economy keeps moving. I strongly recommend that is the way we need to move the policy. Voluntary, I support it, but specifically for key sector which keeps the economy, I think there has to be, in my view, compulsory vaccination.
After conducting a survey on COVID-19 vaccination for businesses, the Business Council of PNG says key business sectors must operate for smooth flow of the economy.
Whether that COVID infection-free ecosystem is vaccine-driven or not vaccine-driven, that's immaterial as far as we're concerned. So we can't force people to get vaccinated, and no one can, not even the government. But if you're in a particular ecosystem, you're in a particular environment that is sensitive, and it requires those, then vaccination has to be followed and abided by.
Podivai National EMTV News.
Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited delivered brand new cardiac equipment to the National Heart Centre at the Port Moresby General Hospital today. The equipment is made possible through a tripartite MOA between Kumul Petroleum, Port Moresby General Hospital and the Ministry of Health to support the National Heart Centre.
In a short ceremony today, the Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited delivered a set of cardiac ultrasound equipment to the National Heart Centre as part of an MOA signed between the company, the Port Moresby General Hospital and the National Department of Health. Speaking at the event was CEO of POM General Hospital, Dr. Paki Molumi, who addressed the issues faced in the cardiac department and was grateful for the support given through the signed MOA.
Today we are here to witness the handover of three of those machines that have already arrived in the country, among many others that we have ordered. So in front of us is the ultrasound scan machine. It is one of the latest and on the market. It got artificial intelligence built into it. I think this is the first in the country with artificial intelligence, so that you can get out those images and the scans that you want getting direct into the heart valves. Maybe the radiologist and the supplier can go into detail of explanation of that. But that is the quality of equipment that through Kumul that we have purchased and to supply to our end users.
With support from Green Limited, the KPHL were able to transfer the 1.5 million kina equipment from the United States into PNG. KPHL Managing Director Mr. Wapu Song addressed that it was part of the 50 million kina project, an agreement signed between these parties. This becomes the first cardiac equipment provided to the hospital to benefit the people of PNG.
The people of Papua New Guinea that are benefiting and that will be benefiting into the future will be very happy with the investment that we are doing in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of commitment that we are putting into making sure that we have the cardiac surgery facility here up and running, and it's already running since we've started working with the hospital here. So it's a proud moment for Kumul Petroleum as well to see that it's been operational now since July of this year. We had the first standing operation.
Dr. Wesson Boko, a cardiologist from the hospital, said it has been an expensive exercise for PNG citizens to travel overseas, however was grateful for the MOA, which has brought this equipment and service right at the doorstep. Dr. Boko said this comes as an early independence gift for the National Heart Center.
We started doing angiogram, that is putting wire into the people's heart. That is very expensive exercise. If you need to go to Philippines or go to Singapore, to Australia, it will take you up to about 100 or 150 to, with economic problem now, it will be 200,000 plus. And not many Papua New Guineans could afford it, and we got many patients with lifestyle disease and coronary, and they've been dying slowly out there. Only people who got money could afford to go up to PIH, or they can get a next flight to Philippines. But this is the greatest step, just like what the Americans did when they went up to the moon. And they said, as little step, it's a big thing. So what we have started off is exactly the same thing in PNG. So PNG, Papua New Guinea, should be celebrating that.
After a short presentation was done, 4 patients, each from 4 regions of PNG, came forward to testify about their experience and how the cardiac department has helped them to recover. They also urged the government to help support such and distribute more equipment to all major hospitals in PNG. Jamie Harrow, National EMTV News.
PNG Chamber of Mines and Petroleum is encouraged by Prime Minister James Marape's announcement of a clear policy on the payment of dividends from resource projects through to a sovereign wealth fund. PM Marape made the announcement upon receiving a 100 million kina dividend payment from Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited on August 18th. President of PNG Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, Anthony Smara, said the government's commitment to this ensures economic returns from resource sector projects are rightfully accounted for and properly invested and managed for long-term benefits. The establishment of a sovereign wealth fund has been effected in law, but this is the first time a government has shown its determination to have the SWF set up to ensure savings culture for the government through its resources revenue. You're watching National EMTV News. We'll have more stories after these short messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. Today was the start of a 2-day PNG Open Government Partnership National Co-Creation and Good Governance Conference co-hosted by the Department of National Planning and Monitoring and TIPNG. The conference was held at the Laguna Hotel in Port Moresby in partnership with the European Union. The 2-day conference is to update the people of PNG on the implementation of the 7 national commitments under 4 primary clusters in PNG's first OGP National Action Plan 2018 to 2021.
Corruption is most visible when there is a breakdown in service delivery and lack of transparency and reporting on the usage of public funds. Secretary for Planning Connie Samuel, during the National Co-Creation and Good Governance Conference this morning, mentioned that working together with the civil society and the private sector to fight corruption was a key role of the Open Government Partnership.
The OGP platform elevates the government's efforts to fight against corruption and promote good governance, transparency, accountability, enhance effective service delivery. 1% cannot end corruption in this country. We need a holistic approach. And the OGP platform is the most strategic platform that promotes inclusive development planning, policy formulation, consultative budgeting, inclusive and effective service delivery.
Papua New Guinea is placed very high on the corruption index, and according to Transparency International PNG chairman Peter Aitzi, it is an alarming statistic.
The corruption perception index, and that looks at a country and it uses independent perceptions to determine where we sit within the global rankings. And I think, as quoted by our speakers today, we're sitting at 142 out of 180 countries, which tells us that there is something wrong. It validates that view that people have.
The Open Government Partnership is a collation of civil society and government to improve the accountability of government. It will also help with reporting on transparency.
Because the OGP will allow us to provide a greater level of accountability and draw accountability from the government. And it does that through a partnership with the civil society. So allowing civil society to be able to engage with government in order for us to improve the reporting that comes out of government so there's greater transparency. There's a saying that I think many of you heard, sunlight is a great disinfectant. You've all heard that? And that means that when you cast the light into dark corners, people can't hide.
The end result of the OGP is to have those taking part in corrupt practices to be served the justice they deserve, and to weed out corruption hiding in the corners of the government system.
And where there's greater levels of accountability, if somebody has stolen money, misappropriated money, misused money, or even misused their power, then we can hold that person accountable. We can charge them. They can go to court, hopefully found guilty, and serve time in jail.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
Kumbu Primary School in Kabum District needs about 50,000 kina to complete a double-story building. Head teacher Goldie Talawani said work on the building began in 2015, however stopped last year due to funding constraints. The new structure, once completed, will replace old and worn-out classrooms which date back to the 1980s. Mr. Talawani said the condition of the classroom poses a risk for the student population of over 3,000 students. He said the school receives 3,000 kina in GTFS quarterly, which is prioritized on school materials. Parents are charged only 100 kina instead of the standard 300 kina in project fee due to the difficulty of income generated at the rural setting. The school has exhausted all its resources on the construction of the new structure and is now calling for donations to complete the building. The much-awaited new cancer treatment machine for Engel Hospital in Lae would be brought into the country to replace the old one, which is outdated and non-functional. This was made possible with government approval and gazettal of the Radiation Safety and Control Regulation. Health Department's Chief Medical Officer Dr. Goatau said the National Cancer Facility in Lae would be fully operational to treat cancer patients early next year.
This is the Cobalt-60 radiation treatment machine used medically for radiation therapy to treat cancer patients. What keeps this machine functional is this radioactive source produced in nuclear reactors and can last for 5 years. According to Engel's National Cancer Unit radiation technologist Becky Pice, the source is outdated and was not in use for almost 6 years.
Once the source comes here, we can use it for like 10 years. The half-life is 5.26 years, so we can use it for another 10 years.
That's good.
This machine we can still use. And it's cost effective, whereas the linear, it's expensive. We must have a cooling system, we must have everything in place. It's a very delicate machine.
According to the National Department of Health, more than 7,000 new cases of cancer is presented to health facilities every year, and more than 5,000 of these cases die from cancer every year due to lack of diagnosis and treatment facilities.
Current cobalt has depleted in its lifetime. So we had planned 6 years ago to bring a new one. We had money to bring it, but we were advised by from International Atomic Energy that you cannot, unless you have a law. And until and unless you have a law, you cannot bring any more new sources. And for that reason, we have not been bringing any new resources to the center and also other related products. So that's the very reason, no law and no regulation.
Engel Memorial Hospital Cancer Unit is a national facility that has been serving cancer patients throughout the country over the years. Many died due to no radioactive source available to treat them. The Chief Medical Officer and Executive Manager Medical Standards to National Department of Health, Dr. Goa Tau, said they are now in the process of removing the old source and would bring in a new source for this Cobalt-60 machine.
I think hopefully we can progress faster than within the last 5 or 6 or 7 years. And then we can, the people with these problems, cancers, can now get some relief from this. Hopefully we can start bringing the new source in the new year. Hopefully. When I say hopefully, I mean International Atomic Energy, who are the regulators internationally. They have informed us of removing the current source, and then we will try to, because our regulation is already now passed. That's what they've been waiting for.
Before the source is being brought into the country, the government, through the health department, will now have to bring in an oncologist, a physicist, and have a readily new cancer facility to accommodate the Cobalt-60 source. Kumul Petroleum will assist the department and Engel Memorial Hospital Cancer Unit with funding support through a signed MOA to provide the critical cancer services.
Kumul's under a MOU invested or agreed over a 3-year period to invest 3 million, 15 million, 5 million per year. So over these 5 years, Kumul will be working closely with Engel to help Engel upgrade the facility, cancer facility in here. We'll be working closely and in the hope that our people will access these critical services.
According to the National Department of Health, the National Cancer Unit here at Engel Memorial Hospital is expected to provide the much-needed cancer services to the people of PNG early next year. Julie Badui, OA, National EMTV News, Lae.
Another district in Hela province has been given a facelift in the health sector. Yesterday, we brought you a story of the appointment of a new resident doctor for Magarima District Hospital after years of neglect. This time, it's the Koroba District Hospital. The hospital witnessed the opening of an X-ray and pathology lab and the appointment of a resident doctor as well. The Australian government, through its High Commission in PNG, funded the labs with Hela Provincial Health Authority, Oil Search Foundation and Koroba Lake Kopiago DDA as partners.
These are milestone achievements for the Hela Provincial Health Authority, a vision in 2018 to place doctors and technical staff at the district hospital to improve its standard to a level 4 hospital has now become a reality. Everything a hospital should have is here except for an operating theatre, which is yet to be built.
Must be able to operate. If there are emergency cesarean sections, if there are emergency cases, the doctor must operate. And therefore, an operating theatre is the last final cap of services as far as a level 4 service is concerned.
Patients will not seek medical attention elsewhere and can now have access to better diagnostic services. It was through the partnership between the PHA, the local DDA, Oil Search Foundation, and the Australian government that they are able to achieve these goals.
It is because of the work of all of these community partners and leaders that Australia has been prepared over the years since 2018 to contribute 35.6 million kina in funding for health projects across Hela Province.
DFET has also renovated the district hospital after the 2018 earthquake and will continue to partner to bring health services to the rural population. A current project is the 25 million kina health centre that is currently under construction in Copiago.
Placement of doctors and technicians to help achieve the National Health Services standard for a level 4 district hospital, and the containerised X-ray and pathology clinics being officially opened today.
Local MP Petrus Thomas applauded the partnership, stating it has helped achieve a lot of development outcomes. His encouragement is for his people to take ownership and look after such projects.
You must you look at him good, more service will come. You don't look at him, more service will not come.
Meanwhile, the Hela PHA has built some waiting houses in the Koroba Copiago district for pregnant women to travel from rural villages and rest before going to the hospital to deliver.
Mama, you stop long way. 1 week, you every lo come, you time lo come closer, you must come. This is the waiting house now, sleep long up. Me look at him you.
Vasanata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Bank South Pacific has reopened its Kerama sub-branch on 6 September 2021 after 8 months of shutdown. The bank was shut down on the 14th of December after criminals broke into the bank and stole 220,000 kina cash. The bank was closed for almost 10 months to allow police to investigate. The closure of the bank also allowed the bank to carry out repairs and improve security. Over 100 Catholic faithfuls gathered in Veifa to celebrate 100 years pilgrimage of the Legion of Mary. Sir John Ribat says this is an important occasion for the church. He says the church will continue to work in this part of the country to win souls.
Hundreds gathered at the Veifa Diocese to celebrate the day. Many turned up to embrace the occasion. Cardinal Sir John Ribat, who began his career as a priest there, says this marks a coming together for the good work by the pilgrimage.
This event is very important because it marks 100 years of the work of the Legion of Mary throughout the world. It started in 1921 and until today, 2021. It started by a layman, Frank Duff from Ireland. He started this mission, this work, Legion of Mary, and then they spread throughout the world. So this is a work that when I was small, I was a member of this already, just in the village.
Local MP Peter Iswaimo also attended. He says churches remain a partner in development. He says the occasion provides the avenue to embrace the good work by the Legion of Mary.
I'm happy to be always working alongside all church denominations, but I'm a Catholic myself, so I follow the church in all programs there are in my electorate.
The celebrations began a day before the actual pilgrimage day. For the local MP, he wants churches to maintain its relationship with levels of government.
You know, if we stretch out and be working in partnership with the churches, you know, God in His own miraculous ways will win souls for and on behalf of us and the church clergymen and hierarchy. So, you know, we serve one purpose being to address the law and order situation. So I'm always behind church programs.
Jack Power Jr. National EMTV News.
And now looking at the NASFund market report, the kina opened unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your kina will buy $0.2775 $0.3715 Australian dollars, $0.3869 New Zealand dollars, and 29.98 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee and cocoa closed higher, and copra closed lower. Crude oil is trading higher, palm oil closed lower, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading lower. Chukai Sports is next. All the details after the break.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The National Soccer League's transfer window is currently open to allow for the movement of players amongst the franchise teams in the Northern and Southern Conferences.
The PNG Football Association, through its competition department, will use a 2-week break to open up a transfer window for players involved in the National Soccer League. The transfer window started on the 5th of September and will close on the eve of Independence Day, 15th of September 2021. Head of PNGFA Competition Department, Rushji Suway, said all clubs are allowed only 4 transfers during this period. This will also include new players that are not yet registered with another franchise club, but will like to be included on the list of 30 players. The fee for the transfer is 500 kina per player, and the payment for the amount will go into National Soccer League's BSP account. The transfer form will be provided by the Competitions Department. Clubs must provide a confirmation in the form of a letter of release from the club transferring the player or a letter of request from a club requesting the transfer of a player. All correspondence must be attached to a transfer form when submitting. Meanwhile, the PNGFA will use the 2-week break to conduct a training camp for the senior men's national team. Haxi Lovai, Chukai Sports.
And that ends Chukai Sports. The weather details after the break.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
I'll look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Partly cloudy and windy in Port Moresby, partly cloudy with gusty winds in Daru, partly cloudy with brief evening showers in Kerema, Alatau and Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, cloudy with rain showers in Lae, cloudy with a few possible showers in Medang, and cloudy with a few showers and possible thunderstorms in Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, partly cloudy with a few afternoon showers in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopora, Bao, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, cloudy with some showers, then morning fog right across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kondiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. I'll look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. There's a strong wind warning current for renewal strong wind warning current for all inland areas and coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, through the Gulf of Papua to Yule Island and Port Moresby to Hood Point, Aroma Coast to Samari Islands to Cape Fogle, and all the Milne Bay Islands from Cape Fogle to Huon Gulf and Finchhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to CRC and Long Islands to Karkar Island to Manam Island and Bogia to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, including western tip of West New Britain, as well as the southwest sector of Bismarck Sea, the Solomon Sea and the Coral Sea. Strong southeast winds of 25 to 34 knots are expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas. All small crafts and boats are advised to take necessary precautions before going out to sea, especially in the warning areas. There is also a gale wind forecast for PNG areas. Southern sector of Bismarck Sea, including all inland areas, coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru and Kiwai Island, through the Gulf of Papua to Yule Island and Port Moresby to Hood Point, Tarama Coast including Vitias and Dampier Straits to CRC and Long Island to Karkar Island and Manam to Bogia and to Wewak, including the western tip of West New Britain. Very strong southeast wind surges of 34 to 48 knots are expected to continue over the next 24 hours, causing very rough to high seas as well as coastal flooding. All small crafts, boats and seagoing vessels are advised to stay away from the warning areas, and all coastal and inland communities in the warning areas are also advised to take heed of the destructive wind warning and to take preventative measures in order to protect lives and properties. A look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea. Seas very rough with southeast winds at 34 to 48 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas rather rough to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas rather rough to very rough over the southern sector with southeast winds of 25 to 34 knots, gusting to 48 knots over the southern southwest sector, and in the Pacific Ocean, seas moderate with southeasterly winds at 15 to 20 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Thursday, the 9th of September 2021. Until next time, pleasant viewing, take care and good night.